Okay, so thanks everyone for joining us today for the Efficiency for Access Design Challenge Career Conversations. Our final event before the grand final event on 23rd June, which you can register for. Here, let me send. Jackie, do you mind putting the event link in the chat? You can join through there. My name is Sean. I am joined today by my colleagues Jackie, and I believe Luke will be joining us later. After the positive reception of our last event, we've brought it back for a second round. So today is about providing guidance and advice to our student participants about the prospective careers in the sector. So I encourage you all to participate as much as possible in order to make the most out of this time with our industry experts. They have all very successfully begun a career in the sector at one time or another. Let me just share my screen with all of you. Sorry about that. Oh, there we go. Oh, can everyone see that? No. Can everyone see the screen now?
I can't see it yet.
Sorry about that. Having some technical difficulties as usual.
Try it now.
Acumen of integrating innovation with business. He's been part of various entrepreneurial fellowships in and outside Uganda, such as the Global Innovation through Science and Technology in South Africa, the Mandela Washington Fellowship, and the E-Founders Program with Alibaba in China. Then we will hear from Roxanne Garrana of Energy Saving Trust. Roxanne is Energy Saving Trust's Senior Project Manager of LEA, the Low Energy Inclusive Appliance Program, the flagship program of the Efficiency for Access Coalition. LEA, funded by FCDO and IKEA Foundation, is a research and innovation program focused on the market development of a range of efficient off-grid appliances suited for developing countries. Roxanne is responsible for its financial management and liaison with partners and donors alongside supporting delivery. Roxanne has over 10 years of professional experience in international development with a focus on energy access, climate change, and carbon markets. She worked at the Climate Change Commission in Portugal, helping the country's efforts to comply with the Kyoto Protocol. Geographically, her portfolio is vast with an emphasis in Southern Africa, including Botswana, Malawi, South Africa, and Mozambique. She has worked with multiple donors, namely the EU, FCDO, the World Bank, and the Millennium Change Corporation. She also holds an MSc in Development and International Cooperation and a BSc in Economics. So that's our speakers for today. And without further ado, Douglas, please take it away.
So, can you hear me now?
Yep, hear you great.
Thank you, Shane, for that wonderful introduction. It's a pleasure to be speaking to all of you. I was asked to tell a bit about my story, my career, and hopefully inspire a number of students that are on their way to their career right now. I was where most students are about 6 years ago when I was graduating after my first undergrad at the university in Uganda. It's usually a very trying time, leaving school and joining a life of career and trying to figure out what to do with your life. So I really understand where most students are at the moment. I believe I was once there, probably in different contexts. It could be different for a student in Uganda compared to a student in the UK, but I must say the experience is the same. How I got into what I do now was actually through an opportunity like this one. This came in form of an internship. I had an internship at a renewable energy Research Center. It wasn't my very first interaction with solar and renewable energy. Throughout my life, we used to use solar energy at home and had a bit of prior experience. Access to electricity is a serious challenge in Uganda. So through this internship, I really got exposed to the kind of impact that was being created by renewable energy. And later on, experiencing the global drive to renewable energies, I decided that this is something that I needed to be part of. It's a worldwide transition. It has a lot of worldwide support, and for me, it was an easy decision. Trying to be something of part of something huge, and getting into entrepreneurship, of course, was also another turning point in my life. I started off with a full-time job. I continued to work for this center, and it was through that experience that I actually picked the idea of what we do now. So with Innovex, we're helping solar companies solve problems around operation and maintenance of solar installations. And this internship taught me a lot about the industry. It taught me a lot about the challenges that solar companies face. And later, as I was thinking through of what kind of business to do, it was an obvious pick for me. It was an obvious pick that the business needed to be solving something related to the industry. So for you to really be an entrepreneur, there are just a few basic attributes you need to look out for. The biggest, I would say, for me is personal improvement. Trying to always aim for being a better person. Always seeking out mentors, seeking out coaches, and you will learn as you leave college that the biggest learning actually happens after school. And it's not the kind of learning that you go to a classroom to learn, but it's the learning that you do on your own, the self-learning, self-teaching. So this is a huge part, a huge and hidden part of entrepreneurship. You really have to go out and learn on your own outside school, and look out for the key, the knowledge, the understanding that you need to be equipped to succeed in your industry. The other attribute I would say is having the right kind of attitude towards anything. And by anything, I mean anything that could actually be bad. You need to find the positive in it, because it's actually mostly out of the bad things that happen that you manage to turn those around and make the best of it. My experience, when I look at the journey we've had as Innovex, it's actually it's been built on a couple of failures. It's failure upon failure that we've managed to get where we are. So always have the right attitude towards anything that could happen, and you'll be able to turn around any situation. Another important requirement would be the ability to work with people, leadership skills, I should say. It's very important that you learn, because it's a fact that leaders are not born but made. So you need to learn how to work with people, and this entails motivating people, understanding people's needs and what takes for them. Self-awareness is also another huge requirement. You need to be able to understand the state in which you as an individual are, because if you're not perfect, it's hard for you to make anything perfect outside yourself. So you need to start with yourself. Lastly, I would say do not be afraid to fail, because it's out of failure that success is built. Success is actually a result of failure. So positives, entrepreneurship actually offers a number of positives. One, I must say, is the opportunity for you to have unlimited impact in the world. So it's really impact that you choose to have. The limit is up to you. So you set your own boundaries compared to any other career you choose. In entrepreneurship, you limit what you can achieve. Maybe a few negatives is it's quite demanding. It's really demanding. It's I think the misconception many people have about entrepreneurship is the idea of being free compared to when you have a job. You are safer having a job than getting into business. So it's really demanding in terms of time and commitment. And there's also a high likelihood that you'd fail. So always have that in mind. And lastly, a bit of advice I would give to students out there is expose yourself to as many opportunities as you can get your hands on, because it's through that you will know exactly what you don't want to do with your life. I think that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. It's always great to hear from someone who's gone through it. And hopefully we have some questions for you shortly. But now we'll be hearing from Roxanne. Roxanne, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Thank you, Sean. Hi, everyone. My name is Roxanne Garrana, as Sean mentioned earlier, and I'm Senior Project Manager at the Energy Saving Trust, which manages the LAIA program, which stands for Low Energy Inclusive Appliances. And it's the program behind the implementation of this competition in collaboration with our partners, Engineers Without Borders, here in the UK. And I'm just going to share a bit of my experience working in the sector as a project manager, and hopefully give you some useful advice or suggestions along the lines of what Douglas just shared with us all. So maybe if we jump onto the next slide, Sean, thank you. So I've picked this picture here to start with. I don't know if any of you have watched this movie. It's called Beyond Borders. And I picked this picture because it sort of triggered me to start working in international developments, not only because it kind of illustrates what it looks like from for humanitarians and PMs working in the space. Well, also all teenage girls want to be Angelina Jolie. And basically my point is energy access is a world. It's still a nascent sector, but there's so much within the sector that you can do. So realizing what you're passionate about will help you to focus. I studied economics, and then through my master's, I got specialized in development and international cooperation, and I learned about sustainable development and became quite interested in this area. And that has allowed me to focus and build my skills and expertise in that specific topic. We also spend the majority of our time at work. So you might as well be working on something that gets you to get up every day in a positive spirit. So yeah, so that will be my first advice. If we jump onto the next slide, I wanted to share with you that whilst I was still undertaking my master's degree, I looked for internship opportunities, and I found this opportunity at the Climate Change Commission back home in Portugal. And it was a very enriching experience because I was able to marry the academic research that I was doing for my thesis with an experience in the labour markets of the sector. At the time, I was working with a senior economist of the organisation on the Kyoto Protocol. For those who haven't heard about it, that was an international treaty related with the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by 2012. And it was an experience that allowed me to work with strong professionals in the sector, with whom even today I'm still in touch with. So that's been really helpful for sector connections, for instance. So if you are able to do so, I would highly recommend the opportunity to gain experience through a graduate program or an internship. In terms of the next slide, I wanted to highlight, as Douglas also mentioned a bit earlier, about experimenting different things. In some of them might come across as failures, as Douglas highlighted, but that's good. It's a learning curve. Whilst working at the Climate Change Commission, I was working as a finance intern, so pretty much involved on the management of the carbon fund of the country, which was super interesting, having that exposure to carbon markets. But it just didn't quite feel 100% the right fit for me. So it was quite important to change other strands of work. And after the internship, I started working on project management in consultancy companies. And that's where I found what I was really keen on doing. So even within the layer program, for instance, to give you an example, it's all focused on off-grid appliances. So it's a very niche area, but it's not just a project about energy. So it is, in essence, a market development program, because what we're trying to do is to push the market forward in terms of all these appliances that will ultimately help people access energy and access the energy ladder in terms of energy services. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of M4P, Markets Development for the Poor. And essentially, it's all about the donuts, meaning you not only need offer and demands for a certain product or good, but there's a number of complementary dimensions in society that need to be in place for the market to move forward. So you need a friendly regulatory environment, for instance, for companies to operate in the sector. You not only need designers of products like a lot of yourselves, but also how to marketeer the product, how to raise awareness in consumers of the existence of those appliances. So there's so many different aspects of the industry that one can work in. So I think experimenting will be good, so that you can have a feel and a flavor of the different aspects. You can be a humanitarian working in a sector, working in refugee camps with energy access in off-grid appliances. So there's a big world out there. If we jump on to the next slide, please, Sean. Networking. This is also particularly useful throughout anyone's careers. And the hard truth is that companies are jungles, unfortunately. And despite your good efforts in terms of the job that you do, it's so important to also be mindful of the connections within an organization. And I've been quite lucky, because I've been mentored by amazing project directors throughout different companies that I worked at. And a mentor will not only guide you and teach you on the delivery of your work, different methodologies and approaches, but also help you navigate through the organization and therefore more easily climb the ladder, the corporate ladder, let's say so. And also by offering their advice, offering recommendations, reference letters. So very, very important for future jumps in your career path. The following one, it's something that I find quite important, which is to continuously keep learning and developing, recycling your knowledge. And I know what a lot of you are thinking. It's been quite a long study journey for you all, and it can feel a bit exhausting. But especially if you're going to work in energy access, it's still a nascent sector. So there's so much technology coming out all the time, different approaches, business models that are being piloted, it's super important to keep recycling and updating our knowledge. And you can do so through training courses, just reading different publications, reports that are coming out, listening to podcasts, attending webinars and sector conferences. And I know that our A4A Design Challenge team has done a really good job in terms of sharing through our newsletter different opportunities of events coming up in the sector. There's also a lot of publicly available information online. So there's, for instance, Energypedia and Sun Connect. They are always posting interesting stories on the sector. And obviously following key organizations like C4All, Sustainable Energy for All, Dougla, and obviously I'm biased, yeah, but Efficiency for Access, our website. Keep tuning in and keep learning. So I'm nearly finished. The following one, I think it's pretty obvious, but if you're able to do so, field experience is so important, because I think it's hard to find the perfect job. And I challenge anyone who has found the perfect job. Will always have things in our day-to-day that we're not really keen on doing, aren't our favorite tasks. There's a lot of headaches in all jobs, but it's good to be reminded of the purpose of our role and why we're doing what we're doing. So being exposed and witness the impact of the projects that you're working on, the products that you're developing, and how that can, even if in a tiny little bit, can help people in their day-to-day is really important. And lastly, and this might be a bit controversial, this picture that I picked, the X factor. And by the X factor, I don't mean, being born the best or the most talented individual in your area, but pursuing excellence. Because if you're really good at what you do, people will want you, companies will want you, headhunters will chase you. And this is a challenge, right? How to get to the top. So and an example is, to develop your soft skills. So you've studied hard. You've all joined this competition, which I think merits to you. I think it's great opportunity in challenge. To give you an example from my experience, a couple of years ago, I did this volunteering work through this mentoring program at the secondary school. So working on my mentoring skills, my communication skills was super useful then on the job that I'm currently undertaking. So anything that pushes you a little bit over and beyond the scale will help you, I imagine, in your career path. And that wraps up what I wanted to share today with you all. Thanks, Sean.
Trying to find the unmute button again. Thank you, Roxanne. Thank you, Douglas. Yeah, thank you for sharing your stories. It's great to hear about them and kind of set out a path for students that might not know what's coming up next. So thank you. Now we're in the Q&A period of the event, and everyone feel free to ask our panelists or any of the industry experts present about their experience or any advice you would like to have. You can do that either over the chat or just to turn on your video over call. Bring up the chat for myself. I think perhaps a question to kick us off to both Roxanne and Douglas. Here it is. If you could give one piece of advice to yourself when you were starting out, what would it be? when you were at this stage of the students' careers?
If I could go first.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Douglas.
Mine would be learn fast. Fail quickly and learn fast. I think back in the beginning, we played itself quite a bit. Yeah.
That's an interesting question. I would say immerse yourself. Take advantage to as many uni lectures and webinars and that you can get hold of to get a glimpse of different experiences, different projects, different role models in the sector that you aspire to be like.
Yeah, it seems like learning is the way to go, and I hope everyone takes something away from that. Do you two believe there's a greater reward for the financial risk taken by an entrepreneurial career versus an entrepreneurial career? Or if there is a greater financial risk, if you don't believe there is?
There is, in terms of financial risk, it's actually a greater financial risk not trying out entrepreneurship. That's what's risky. I mean, the reward, if successful as an entrepreneur, is beyond a lifetime. That's a big reward. Not to mention the impact that you have on the lives of others. The reward is really beyond a lifetime, especially financially.
Thank you, Douglas. Yeah, and that being said, oh, I've lost it now. I had a question in mind. Is there anything from our students today? If we don't, I'll continue with my own, but please just write them in the chat if you have any questions. Let me just check that the chat is present. Yeah.
Well, I could try to build on that answer about the risk.
Sure.
Well, for a fact, as an entrepreneur, it's usually smart not to take on as much risk as possible. Of course, not to mention the different ways of dealing with risk, but it's very important to understand and calculate the risk that you're taking. For example, me getting into business, it wasn't an all-in. It was a very simple conception that in case I failed, at least I had the fallback position of my degree. I had a fallback position of my family they could support. So always, as an entrepreneur, you need to understand. It's important to understand the risk that you're taking. It's always there, but most importantly, what will you do in case what you're afraid of happening happens? It's important to always think about that upfront, because it will actually happen. What you fear happening will happen. You just need to know what it is, be aware, so that as you approach it, you're approaching it with knowledge and intelligence. Thank
you. And that being said, both of you mentioned failing and learning, and Douglas, you mentioned the trying out an entrepreneurial career. Would you both recommend trying both? I mean, endeavoring into an entrepreneurial career as well as an entrepreneurial career at some point in your life?
Well, as an entrepreneur, I wish everyone on my team was an intrapreneur. They're the best people to work with. Well, an entrepreneur is being an employee, but you probably have a mindset, a skill set as an entrepreneur. So you're working within a large organization, probably running your own individual project. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. It's really not. I wouldn't say everyone should be an entrepreneur. it's demanding, it's hectic. It's probably something you have to be cut out to do. So it really comes from what you feel you're passionate about. I've grown up feeling lucky, lucky enough, to try the hard things. It's okay to, be an entrepreneur. The fact is, success is a different definition for everyone. So depending on what your passions are and how you define success for yourself, I believe that is how you come to a decision on what you're best at doing.
I totally agree with Douglas. I think it's not a question of should, right? Because as Douglas was saying out, the different strands have, they tend to sort of profile. But I'm the first one to say, if you can try out, why not? We only have one life. And as Douglas highlighted, success means different things for different people. And you might just not know it, but actually your golden star might be on the other side. I've never seen myself as an entrepreneur, businesswoman with my own business, because I've never seen it as my own profile, but I do admire and I won't say no. So I do encourage everyone, if you have the opportunity to take the risk, why not?
Sure. And maybe one for you, Roxanne. I mean, you mentioned internships, but maybe other than that, what do you feel is the most effective way to gain experience in a competitive job market?
Sorry, unmuting myself. That's a really good question, because it is sort of an open door through internships to gain that experience. And without one, you kind of need to rely a little bit on the good faith of having that first job, paid job in the market, which can be a struggle. And in the current context we're living with, going through this pandemic, I can imagine it might be even a bigger challenge. But just remaining positive and pushing through, that you will get that opportunity. There are graduate programs, and I didn't want to extend myself a lot on this topic because it's still an initial idea. But for instance, the Energy Saving Trust is going to launch a graduates program soon. So there's a lot of companies that have programs that aren't really internships, but they're proper first jobs program for graduates. There's an organization called DAIs. They also have this sort of program. So it's just being persistent and determined in getting that first opportunity, doing your research to be able to have that chance.
Okay. Douglas, did you like to say something? Sorry.
Oh, yes, definitely. So it's a key confusion for very many graduates starting out their career. Jobs require that you have experience, but they're not willing to give you an opportunity to get the experience that they would need. A simple trick is to work for free. I mean, in Uganda, work for free, offer to work for free. Of course, you have to be living in your parents' house to do this. But I mean, employers love that. Tell them you don't want to get paid. You're simply looking at learning. And trust me, it will be very hard to say no to someone like that. And what's interesting is a few months down the road, there will be opportunities for you to earn within the same company. So it's something that I think you can do in any business in Uganda, offer to work for free. It's something that I tried to do before college. You simply walk in and what's interesting is it's easy for you to get a company of your choosing.
Okay, thanks, Douglas and Roxanne. And if we don't have any questions from our students now, they might be saving them for the breakout rooms that we're about to go into for more intimate advice. But we can move along now. But thank you, Roxanne and Douglas, for sharing your stories with us today and answering these, what were quite hard questions. From now we'll move into the Padlet demonstration of the event. Roxanne and Douglas, if you are running out of time and you'd like to leave now, no worries. Feel free to drop off. But we want to dedicate most of this session to the breakout room discussions, as that's what the students requested last time. So thank you again. Let's see. So first off, we'll be using a web application called Padlet for this portion of the event. When you get into the breakout rooms, and I'm just going to add the link to the Padlet board in the chat. And then I'll be sharing my screen so that you can all see what it looks like. But first off, when you enter the breakout rooms today, I want you to all decide on a note taker for the group. This note taker should not be the industry expert themselves, unless absolutely necessary, such as if you're on a phone. All other participants are free to make their own notes and comments on the Padlet, but we need one person to be made responsible for both the note-taking and the reporting back afterwards. So let me just open the Padlet now. I'll stop sharing this screen and open and share the Padlet. There we go. Okay, I hope everyone can see that. So this is a Padlet board, and you'll be able to write here underneath the breakout room attendant's name. So we have engineering rooms, management rooms, and science and research rooms. If you're looking for your attendant, they might be on the left or right. If you can't see them yet, and just scroll over there. And then if you want to make a note, you can just double click on the board wherever you want to write it. Write your title here and write your notes underneath. If everyone gets that, yeah. And then afterwards you can move it around. And of course there are other options to customize your note, include pictures or recordings, but it's probably more straightforward to just write everything in text. I hope that all makes sense. So everyone should have access to that Padlet board and be able to write on it. And can you not see my screen? Maybe you can't see my screen yet. There, sorry. I don't know if you were able to see that before. Yeah, anyway, it's just double click anywhere. Scroll right or left to see the name. You'll know who's in your room. It'll be the title of your room, and you'll be able to speak to them. And you just write here all your discussion notes, everything that you would like to share with the group. Just keep typing as you go, and everyone will be in this room together. So, if that all makes sense, anyone have any questions, please speak now, and I'll be able to answer all of them right away. Any questions from anyone? If not, I'll just head over back to the presentation. Here we go. And so you'll have 30 to 40 minutes to discuss. We're running a little bit over time to discuss with our illustrious industry partners about anything you feel you want to about your future careers. We don't have quite enough time to have an introduction to all of our experts, but you'll have the opportunity to formally meet them once you are in the rooms. Our partners are experts in the industry and have volunteered their time and expertise to be with us today. So really utilize them while you have the chance. In a moment, you'll receive a notification for the breakout room. Please accept this and you'll be brought to a breakout room. let me just run through who's in each place. This is the Padlet link. Engineering rooms. We might not have all our industry experts today in case there were any last minute scheduling conflicts, but we have Kimani Kachuche, Bishwaraj Batare, Francisco Del Pozo Campos, Sripati Harigal, David Tusibira. In the engineering rooms, in the management rooms, we have Richard Atwell, Ignacio Valero, Jiten Gilani, Mohammed Sheriar, and in the science and research rooms, we have Omileo Toyobo, Asumta Nantum Green. And these are some key discussion points that you might like if you run out of things to talk to while you're in there. I'll be sharing those in the chat in just a moment. So without further ado, just accept the breakout room requests when it gets sent to you, and you'll be whisked away to those breakout rooms. Jackie will know if those are ready to be broken out into.
Hi, Sean. The breakout room now finished, I guess. Is there another talk going on? Sorry, I can't remember what the schedule was.
So we'll just have a short reporting back session now, just to discuss what happened in the breakout room, so you can kind of get a taste of what happened in both, so you don't miss out on anything. Yeah. But just one person from each group will do a little share. But that's it. And then we'll let you all go.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Okay. I think you three are just the first to join. I think they'll be joining as the breakout rooms close. There you go. I think this is everyone back. Let me just get you all here. Okay. Can everyone see that? Yeah. Okay, so this is our short reporting back session. We just want to hear some key takeaways from everyone. You've hopefully all had unique and rich conversations. So to help share that knowledge between the groups, we just want to hear a little bit about what went on in both groups. So does someone from Richard's group want to start? Did anybody, someone allocate a note taker for the group that can share from the Padlet?
Yeah, I think Paris was taking the notes. I don't know if it's still online or not, but
especially looking at distribution and how that can have an impact on what products are suitable. You talked about the sort of the unit economics of things when you start factoring in relatively high distribution costs, and how that from his experience he'd actually looked at solar lighting and things like that as well, but the distribution costs were quite high. Then I think the final thing for me was really the importance of when you're trying to get to your customers, sort of reaching out to someone else who's already in that area, already has access to the customer base, and just sort of making that first connection, when it's a phone call or going to meet someone, sending an email. He was able to build quite a lot of success through speaking to microfinance intermediaries. I haven't said that word very well, but microfinance institutions who already had access to quite a big customer base that were the sort of people they were targeting, and that allowed them to again keep those distribution costs much lower while getting to a large bulk of people. You sort of don't be afraid to ride on people's coattails, especially when you first get started. Sort of cited that when Microsoft first started, they were saying to IBM, so it's a nice, neat example. But I think that's my main takeaways from it. I don't know if anyone else from the room had picked up anything else that I missed, wants to go through.
Thanks, Tommy. Thanks. That was really interesting. Is there anyone else from the? I saw Alvin just unmuted themselves. Would you like to say anything before?
Or maybe just to add another thing, which one of my main takeaways was that instead of working alone, it's better to work in teams with like-minded individuals. It will accelerate the everything. It will just accelerate the development process, the cash flow, everything. Yeah.
Okay. And Jasper, did you have anything to say? Thanks, Alvin.
I just have an addition on what Percy has said. We had attended a meeting with Richard, and he has given us a lot of experience in easy remix organization, where we, of course, is a Hong Kong, is based in Hong Kong, and they are dealing of grid solar industries, particularly in solar lantern. And of course, we have gotten to know that they distribute solar lantern in different countries, so not specifically in Europe, but in different countries, even in Africa. And of course, they're also doing research in the solar batteries, how to increase on the lifespan of solar batteries, and different emerging batteries. They're also doing research on that. And also they are distributing this solar lantern to different farming cooperatives in form of cooperatives. They're also distributing solar lantern to maybe to organizations like, of course, like these petrol companies, and where they have lighting equipment. They are distributing those people. And of course, they also deal with solar kiosks. Of course, these are like a small kiosk for distributing solar products, and they also have those solar kiosks. And it has been interesting for us to hear from Richard, and he actually said it's a wonderful section. That's what I can just add.
Okay. Thank you, Jasper. Sounds like you all had very rich conversations, used up that time well. And if you have time, feel free to keep inputting to the Padlet if you have any notes that are on there already. But thank you all. Okay. Oh, you're just connecting to audio. Okay. But we're running out of time now. So just before we leave, I just wanted to say that up next, we have the grand final event. It's coming very soon, next week now. So if you just register for the event on the Eventbrite page, which is in the chat, then just go ahead, and we look forward to seeing you there. You'll be able to hear the winners of the design challenge this year, and as well as hear an opening speech, keynote speech, and an open and a panel discussion, as well as see some highlight videos and prototype videos. Maybe you'll see some of your own designs in there. So thank you all for coming today. One thing before we leave is we have this feedback survey. I'll be able to share the link with you following this in the follow-up email, but it's also here on the slide. If you want to follow that, and please provide any input so that we can improve this kind of event for next year. Thank you all again for coming to the last event before our grand final event of this year's design challenge. And we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Tommy.